Tonight, provincial update. The number of COVID-19 cases in Alberta continues to rise. And municipal decisions. Local elected officials continue to react to rapidly changing COVID-19 circumstances.
From Medicine Hat, this is the Chat Evening News with Dan Reynish.
Good evening. Thank you for watching. The COVID-19 pandemic has reached another alarming milestone. The number of global infections has now surpassed 500 million, with case numbers skyrocketing in the U.S., Italy, and Spain. In Canada, more than 3,900 people have tested positive, and the virus is spreading fast. Here in Alberta, there is an additional case of COVID-19 in Medicine Hat, bringing our local total to 5. And Dr. Dina Hinshaw, the province's chief medical health officer, confirmed there are now 67 new cases of COVID-19 in Alberta.
There have now been 486 cases identified in the province. We suspect that 34 of these cases may be community transmission, an increase of 1 from yesterday. Right now, 21 individuals are being treated in hospital, with 10 currently in the ICU. We have also learned that 13 symptomatic individuals from the Mackenzie long-term care facility have now tested positive, an increase of 8 from yesterday. They are self-isolating and receiving care. As of right now, there are no additional confirmed cases in the other continuing care and group home settings that I talked about yesterday. Today, I am pleased to share that we can confirm 27 Albertans have recovered from COVID-19, an increase of 24 from previously reported numbers. As I mentioned previously, we are working on streamlining the process for reporting recovered cases, and we expect that this number will increase in the coming days. We continue to confirm new cases in every zone and in all age groups. We are all being impacted by this virus. 3 weeks ago, I said that COVID-19 would test our health system. To date, our health system has responded remarkably to that test.
During her briefing today, Dr. Hinshaw also thanked the countless unsung heroes behind the scenes during this pandemic. In the South Zone, there are now 12 cases. That's up from yesterday's numbers. Full details on today's announcements can be found at chatnewstoday.ca. Municipalities in the region are continuing to operate despite the pressures of COVID-19, but it's an ever-evolving situation as elected officials react to rapidly changing circumstances. With more, here's Alex McQuaig.
Medicine Hat City Councillors will be meeting in a closed-door session on Friday to discuss its response to the COVID-19 emergency. Councillor Darren Hirsch says that session will likely include short and long-term response planning from the city.
And we'll get some understanding in terms of actions to take, and we're hopeful to put out some sort of direction in terms of where we stand on things, hopefully by tomorrow afternoon.
Councillor Phil Turnbull says the city has and is doing what it can to assist residents. He says he hopes the city's future assistance plans will come into more focus once federal and provincial aid packages solidify.
We have a role to play in that, an important role. We are the tax collectors of our citizens' money, and we need to make sure that we spend that money wisely and sparingly. But we can't be a Scrooge. We've got to do what we need to do because I don't know how long this situation will go on.
Medicine Hat's situation isn't unique. Brooks Mayor Barry Morishita says much like the Hat, municipal business in the Centennial City continues. And as president of the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association, Morishita says the communication lines with the province are open.
To get through this health emergency, I think it's really important that we're on side, and I can give the government a lot of credit here. They're working really closely with us, and we're understanding what their goals are, and so in that messaging, we're certainly trying to get that message out to our members to support that as much as possible.
Morishita added the association is hoping to see some easing of governance regulations to be able to react to localized circumstances. Alex McQuaig, Chat News.
Throughout the COVID-19 crisis, people in Medicine Hat and area have been stocking up on food and other supplies. Local retailers admit they have struggled at times to keep up with the demand. That's all happened while the provincial government says our food supply chain remains strong. With more, here's Chantel Wagner.
The demand for beef is at an all-time high. That's making it hard to keep the shelves stocked over at Reg's Homestyle Meats and Deli. And the beef that's available is more costly.
Because of the shortage of some supplies, some of the things like ground beef has increased by quite a bit, like over $1 a pound at this point. So hopefully when the supply gets back on, it'll come back down again. Pork and chicken so far hasn't been affected too much because it seems to be a good supply of that right now.
The provincial government notes Albertans' buying patterns have changed. Officials are stressing there is no need to stockpile food as it puts unnecessary pressure on the supply chain.
People have been buying in mass quantities, and so we cannot keep up. And the regular stuff that we do for value added is put on the back burner, and we are just trying to fill as many meat orders as we can.
With the increased demand for beef products, the cattle market is trying to keep up with supply. Cows and bulls can be used as quick turnover to get products like ground beef on the shelves, but it's unclear what this means for the cattle industry down the road.
My guess is the cattle market will stay strong for the near future. We're kind of living in the present right now, so I think everybody is very unaware of what is going to happen in the future. A lot will depend on unemployment. A lot will depend on how many good-paying jobs are out there, and I think that's going to affect every aspect of our society. So I think the future is very unknown.
The provincial government says it's monitoring our food supply closely, especially in rural, remote, and Indigenous communities, to ensure there is access to the food that's needed. Minister Dreeshen reiterated the message today that Albertans do not need to hoard food and daily essentials, and that people should be mindful when it comes to irrational panic buying and the effect it can have on the people around you. Chantal Wagner, Chat News.
First of several busy days out there, and if you spent some time watching the wind, you would have seen that thing spin around a little bit faster at times today. The winds at times up to 40 kilometers an hour. A southwesterly wind there, it picks up. There you go. Watch it go. 32 kilometers an hour right now, was 40 earlier. The temperature 8 degrees. We're going to stay on the plus side of 0 during daytime hours, but during the night over the next few days, we'll go back into 0 or the minuses, but not too far. -1 maybe overnight. Your full forecast coming up in just a moment as we once again watch the wind. Straight ahead, if you're in self-isolation or in quarantine, can you go outside? Earlier today, Saskatchewan became the latest prairie province to issue a moratorium on evictions for renters. This now leaves Alberta as the only Western Canadian province without at least some restrictions on evictions. Calls for Alberta to join other provinces have been growing, with mounting job losses, financial insecurity, and rent due in 5 days. Cypress Medicine Hat MLA Drew Barnes says renters should contact their landlords to discuss options.
And to renters and to landlords, I think the best advice at this point is to communicate and show empathy to each other's needs and concerns. Albertans, are been incredible so far how they've been pulling together and getting through this.
Many provinces are still allowing for some eviction hearings to take place in cases of health and safety concerns. With so many people in self-isolation and quarantine right now, it brings up the question, if you are in self-isolation or in quarantine, can you legally go outside? Well, here's a look at some of the rules of COVID-19. The provincial government's website says it makes it clear, stay home. Do not leave your home or attend work, school, social events, or any other public gatherings, and don't do so for 14 days. Avoid close contact with other people, including household members, but especially seniors and people with chronic conditions or compromised immune systems, and watch for symptoms in yourself or a family member. Use delivery or pickup services for errands like grocery shopping. Ask friends or family to drop off food, medicine, and other supplies. And if you need to leave your home for urgent errands, wear a surgical mask. As for Albertans with symptoms, you are legally required to self-isolate for a minimum of 10 days. If you have a cough, fever, shortness of breath, runny nose, or a sore throat that is not related to a pre-existing illness or health condition. The self-isolation period is for 10 days from the start of symptoms or until symptoms resolve, whichever takes longer. The federal government also says that to self-isolate means to stay at home and monitor yourself for symptoms, even if mild, and do so for 14 days. More information is available online at chatnewstoday.ca. COVID-19 is the main reason that students are at home, trying to protect students from the disease and the virus. With students at home from school indefinitely, educators have had to transition into a new way of teaching. Chantel Wagner has been working on this story today and is in studio with me now. Chantel, how are teachers adjusting to this new normal with students now learning from home?
Dan, I spoke with Allison Hall, a grade 4 teacher at Dr. Ken Sauer School. She's teaching her students online and says this is a new territory for teachers, students, and families. Hall says it's been a challenge so far, and teachers have put a lot of thought into how they're going to translate everyday classroom learning to an online platform. She has 23 students in her class and is using Google Classroom to deliver instruction, lessons, and material. This is still very new, and her first online teaching was yesterday. So far, she says students are enjoying working on computers but miss seeing their friends and teachers. Hall says her class is focusing on literacy and numeracy.
Right now, I'm actually focusing on kind of the skill of just writing and actually having them learn how to write an email. So it's opened up some, I think, some more natural learning opportunities, even just through the use of technology, and them being able to learn how to use some of these tools and kind of important life skills that they're going to need to learn in navigating technology and that kind of thing. So it's opened up some good opportunities for that.
Well, it's been different. You can't really talk to people or socialize, but other than that, pretty much the same.
All right, Chantal, you've covered the parents and the kids. How are parents doing so far when it comes to this new way of learning?
Hall says they are meeting with parents on Google Conference every so often, and they're trying to not overwhelm families, so they're easing students into online learning.
The parents of my students, I think, have been pretty involved so far. Obviously, depending on if they're still working or having to work from home, that they're supporting their kids as much as they can. But we are also just trying to connect with parents individually each week as well. That's kind of our goal moving forward.
Medicine Hat Public School Division also provided school technology to families who didn't have access to devices. As for wireless internet access, TELUS and the school division came together to provide a monthly service at no cost to families until students are back in the classroom. Dan?
Chantel Wagner reporting. Chantel, thank you very much. The 2020 Kinsman Home Lotto draw date has been pushed back to May 13th, over a month later than its original March 29th draw date. The decision to push the draw back was made due to the increased threat of COVID-19 in Alberta. Anyone interested in seeing the home can still take a virtual tour on their website. Stephen Pudwell, co-chairman of the Home Lotto, says that other measures are being implemented to make sure people can still purchase their tickets.
Right now, sales are going. We are seeing people going online and through our phone service to buy tickets. We just need to get the word out there and help have our community support the Kinsman.
You can find more information on medicinehatkinsman.ca and of course at chatnewstoday.ca. Much more to come, including the security and safety of food here in Alberta, and we'll have a look at your weather photo today and the AccuWeather forecast just a few minutes when we come back. Coming up, the race is on across the world to come up with rapid test kits, treatments, and a vaccine for COVID-19.
And in the coming days, we will be receiving millions more items that are necessary right across the country.
Still to come here on Chat News at 5, the COVID-19 pandemic has reached another alarming milestone. The number of global infections has surpassed 500,000. In Canada, more than 3,900 people have tested positive and the virus is spreading fast. With a surge expected in the coming weeks, frontline workers have been warning of a severe shortage of masks, gloves, and protective supplies. Today, the Prime Minister promised that help is on the way. Full details on the equipment the Prime Minister is promising in about 15 minutes here on Chat News at 5. The race is on across the world to come up with rapid test kits, treatments, and a vaccine for COVID-19. The British are examining a finger prick test for antibodies that would tell if someone is immune to the virus. And in New York, a research team has developed a test that could also help determine who's been exposed to the virus and could be immune. As Heather Yorick West reports, these could be game changers because of the pandemic.
Researchers in New York have significantly advanced the science that will help the world fight back against COVID-19.
It's important because we can now actually identify individuals who already have had COVID-19 and are immune to it.
When people get infected, the immune system reacts, and the immune system produces what we call antibodies. And these are chemical substances in your body that can attack the invading germ.
A team at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai has developed a blood test that can detect whether people have antibodies to COVID-19 in their blood. It's a critical development for a number of reasons.
It'll give us a handle on who was exposed and who wasn't. So if this virus comes back in a second or third wave, we'll know who is unprotected and who's protected.
We know that not everyone infected with COVID-19 has symptoms, so an antibody test is the only way of determining who's been exposed and who's now immune. This is a vital tool, particularly when it comes to identifying those with immunity within the health system.
These people can actually treat critically ill patients. They can treat patients who are contagious, so they don't have any risk of infection.
Having this test may also help with treatment. Some patients who have recently recovered from COVID-19 have blood rich with antibodies, and this blood, known as convalescent plasma, can be used to treat up to 2 other patients who may be critically ill. On Thursday, New York's Mount Sinai Hospital announced it's now using the therapy to treat COVID-19 patients in its ICU.
It's very exciting as a virologist to be able to contribute in a time like this.
The New York researchers are now sending the protein used for their test to labs around the world, hopeful their work can lead to the next big advancement in the race to stop the spread of COVID-19. Heather Yorick West, Global News, Calgary.
Chat Weather, brought to you by Design Flooring Center, with you every step of the way.
Chat Weather, powered by AccuWeather.
What a fantastic Thursday. Hopefully you had the opportunity to get outside, if you're allowed to be outside, and got to enjoy some of that sunshine that's out there. A little bit windy at times, but for the most part, we are into spring big time now, and we're going to be sticking here for the foreseeable future. Today we did get to the double digits, surpassing the normal 8 degrees. We got up to 10. Once again, yeah, these records, 20 degrees. We're not going to be anywhere near the records over the course of the next week, but that's fine. We're going to be well above freezing, and there's no snow and ice and minus 30 degrees in the morning to have to deal with. So from 10 back down to 8, wind gusting right now at times up to 42.6 kilometers an hour. The winds will continue to blow in the overnight period, and then they'll die down before they pick up again. Tomorrow, expect the wind over the next 24 hours to be fairly sustained at around 30 kilometers an hour, and then on Saturday around 20 to 25 before it picks up again into Sunday. So just know we are going to have this beautiful wind coming our way, but you might notice it is coming from the southwest. This is not beautiful warm air from the Gulf of Mexico. This is beautiful warm air from Canada's Pacific coast. Should be fantastic. We'll show the details of what the coast is getting in just a second. 6 degrees in both Drumheller and Edmonton. Edmonton ended up with a lot of cloud today. Drumheller ended up with just a little bit. 7 in Calgary and Lethbridge in the sunshine. 9 degrees in Brooks and in Bow Island. 8 both in the sunshine. Saskatchewan, cloudy in Saskatoon now after sunny this morning. Regina stayed with a mix of sun and cloud today and 8 degrees. 7 in Maple Creek, 5 in Swift Current, and in Leader 6. So there's the cloud that took over Edmonton, pushing towards Saskatoon, and you still see the stuff that's there in Regina, and the system that's moving into the mountains. Well, that's where we're going to get some of that gorgeous wind. So as you can see on the west coast over there, you see the huge low pressure system. That is where the Pacific warm air will continue to come for us. Not again looking at it from the Gulf of Mexico, but this is warm Pacific air that we will be enjoying for the foreseeable future. I'll have your 7-day forecast in just a few minutes, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Right now, let me talk specifically about Brooks. Your Friday will start off with intermittent clouds, -4 degrees in the morning. Not really all that bad at all. A couple of degrees cooler with the wind chill. But then sun is going to come out. Yes, if you've been waiting for tomorrow. Annie, tomorrow has come. Thank you for that. Plenty of sun tomorrow, but then some cloud pushing into the overnight period in Brooks. In Leader, clouds in the morning, mainly sunny into the day, but then clouds again in the afternoon. Maple Creek will see a sunny day, 7 degrees by 6 o'clock. A fantastic sunset 24 hours from now in Maple Creek. In fact, you should probably have a pretty nice one to experience within the next hour and a half. Noon, sunshine. And then here in Medicine Hat, mostly clear in the morning, -3 degrees. Going to be a nice morning to get up. And then 6, but by tomorrow night, once the sun goes away, we might not get a chance 24 hours from now to see much of a sunset, but lots of sunshine throughout the day and 9 degrees. And if you see something beautiful when the weather is taking place, feel free to snap a picture of it. David Olson sent us this photo of the sunrise this morning over Medicine Hat. You can see the cathedral there. You can see the prairies. Love these photos. I am a sucker for photos of sunsets and sunrises. So feel free to take one every day and submit your pictures to us at weatherpics@chatnewstoday.ca. That's weatherpics@chatnewstoday.ca. David Olson, thank you very much for your photo. We really appreciate all the ones that you've been sending in. And to everybody who's been sending in pictures, thanks to you. If you've yet to send us a picture, weatherpics@chatnewstoday is the address that you can send them to. That is our forecast for now. There's much more news coming up, and we'll have sports stories for you as well here on Chat News at 5. Still to come, Alberta's agriculture minister says the province is working to make sure Albertans have continued access to safe, affordable food. One of the main messages we've been hearing from the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic is there's no need to buy large quantities of food or other essential items because the food supply chain has not been disrupted. The province reiterated that this morning. In the last few weeks, some stores have experienced temporary shortages, but Alberta's Agriculture Minister Devin Dreeshen says government and industry are working together to make sure Albertans have continued access to safe, affordable food.
We are putting an official request through to the federal government to deem the entire food supply chain as an essential service to ensure a safe and stable food supply for Albertans. We are focused on maintaining a strong and open trade relationship between Canada and the U.S. for movement of essential goods across our border.
Anybody can get sick in this pandemic, but for some, the risk of getting severe symptoms is far greater. One family from High River has a very good reason to remind people to keep their distance. Cami Kepke spoke with them.
Hi. Can you give her the thumbs up, bud? Say, stay at home for 2 weeks. Help me out.
4-year-old Jackson Lee loves the outdoors and anything with an engine. He's also one of the people most at risk in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Jackson was born with cystic fibrosis, which affects the lungs and the immune system.
All the mucus in his body is extra sticky, so if he were to get an infection, it's a lot harder for him to clear it. He needs an antibiotic to get over a regular cold even.
While Jackson's family is doing everything they can to keep him healthy, they're also counting on other people to embrace social distancing and keep the virus at bay.
If you've got an underlying health condition, your immune system's already working overtime.
Mount Royal University professor Sonia Jacobek says there's a misconception that only seniors are at high risk.
That probably inhibits some people from maybe doing their best to to adhere to the social distancing that we need right now to reduce exposure.
In reality, anyone with a compromised immune system or underlying medical condition, as well as those over 65 years old, are at risk. High River's mayor, a friend of Jackson's family, is urging people to smarten up.
Just practice your social distancing, and I'm telling you, get serious about it, because what you do can affect 1,000 other people. You can be that one person that gets that one little kid sick.
Fewer than 20 kids under the age of 14 have been diagnosed with COVID-19 in Alberta, according to AHS. And if everyone pitches in, we can make sure kids like Jackson don't become one of them. Cami Kepke, Global News.
For weeks now, doctors and nurses have been warning they don't have enough masks, gloves, and other essential gear to safely tackle the pandemic. That has some wondering why the Canadian government sent 16 tons of protective equipment to China in February when it was clear Canada would need the supplies. David Aiken is in Ottawa tonight with new details on who's helping Canada now that our country is in need.
When China was scrambling to deal with the initial outbreak of COVID-19, Canada stepped up to help, sending all kinds of medical equipment to Hubei province.
We recognized from the very beginning that this is a global crisis that requires global cooperation and response if we are to keep all of us safe.
Indeed, and China is thinking along the same lines. Because now that Canada is scrambling to contain its own outbreak, China is stepping up and is preparing to send Canada millions of items, ventilators, surgical masks, shields, and so on. In the meantime, the Canada Revenue Agency, or CRA, is revamping its website to accept applications for the new Canada Emergency Relief Benefit that will pay those losing income because of COVID-19 up to $2,000 a month for 4 months. It's a massive job. The CRA expects as many as 4 million Canadians to apply when the CRA web portal is up and running sometime around April the 6th. The Prime Minister and Premiers also hammered home the new mandatory self-isolation rules that are now in effect for those coming in to Canada.
All travelers, if you're coming home, you must go directly home and self-isolate. I think it's critical that people fully understand that. That is not stopping at the grocery store. That is not stopping at the post office. That is going directly home and isolating for 14 days.
And there are consequences.
If you do not comply with these instructions, you could face serious fines and even prison time.
In the U.S. today, as more than 1,000 people have now died from COVID-19. There are 69,000 cases. The pandemic has shut down large parts of the country's economy, prompting a record 3.3 million Americans to file unemployment claims. That's nearly 5 times the previous record set in October 1982 during a recession. One of the hardest hit areas is New York, where unemployment claims have increased 1,000%. Jackson Prosco has the latest.
New York's hospitals are already past the breaking point.
9/11 was nothing compared to this. They just keep coming. And they're all ages. Don't delude yourself into thinking only the old will die.
Doctors and nurses overcome by the sheer number of coronavirus patients as the epidemic ravages America's largest city.
Hell, biblical. I kid you not.
At Elmhurst Hospital, where 13 patients died in a single day, the line for coronavirus tests stretches around the block.
They all have COVID.
The New York Times obtained video from inside, where staff are underprotected and overwhelmed. A refrigerated truck has been brought in to store bodies.
The frustrating thing about all of this is it really just feels like it's too little too late. Like we knew it was coming.
At other hospitals, nurses wear garbage bags as gowns as supplies of protective equipment run low. Tents have been set up to serve as makeshift morgues.
Almost any scenario that is realistic will overwhelm the capacity of the current healthcare system.
The state's governor continues to plead for more ventilators and supplies from the federal government, but there's stiff competition.
The problem isn't just that the cases are growing every day, it is that they're growing rapidly every day.
New Orleans could run out of ventilators within a week. Every ICU bed is taken at Atlanta's 4 main hospitals. The stress on the system from COVID-19 now risks the lives of other critically ill patients.
If they're unable to because the system is otherwise overloaded, there will be an increase in morbidity, an increase in deaths.
The message to people right around the world continues to be stay home and flatten the curve. Italy's death toll climbed past 8,000 today, the highest in the world, and in Spain, in a 24-hour period, that country registered 655 deaths. As Krista Gomansing reports, the battle against the virus is intense and disturbing.
It is the most grim of deliveries. Truck after truck dropping off bodies at an Olympic-sized ice rink turned morgue. In Spain, more than 4,000 people have died and many more lives are on the line. Spain's King Felipe toured a new military hospital. He hopes it will ease the heroic and intense daily battle being waged by doctors and nurses. A battle shared by those in Italy. Despite the situation in Spain, Italy is still the epicenter of the European outbreak. Infections surged again, and police in Rome ramped up spot checks. Fines for breaking the lockdown went up to 4,000 euros.
This virus is very dangerous. If you remember, we have been saying for more than 2 months now, this virus is public enemy number one.
That enemy is still spreading daily.
We must look out for each other. We must pull each other through this. Because if there's one thing that is more contagious than this virus, it is love and compassion.
Compassion also means financial support. 37 billion euro is on the table to help members of the European Union get through this health crisis. Crystal Gomansing, Global News, London.
Straight ahead here on Chat News at 5, another major sporting event has been postponed and baseball's opening day didn't happen. That story when we come back. This was the day, March 26th, 2020, that baseball fans had circled on their calendars ever since the Washington Nationals won the World Series last October 30th.
One strike away, one out away. 3-2. Here it is! The Washington Nationals are world champions for the first time in franchise history.
This was the day. The new season was scheduled to start its opening day. Hope springs eternal on opening day in Major League Baseball. All 30 teams tied in the standings, and technically everyone has an equal shot. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, today was not the first day of 2020 MLB. Instead, there's no baseball today. People continue to play with various scenarios for a restart, including picking up the schedule as it had already been slotted just out of the later date, and playing 7-inning games instead of 9. Unlike the NHL and NBA, leagues that have played the majority of their seasons, MLB will be working from a blank template when things get going again. Whether they play a full season isn't known. So far, baseball fans are left with opening day 2.0 thoughts. Another major sporting event has been affected by the pandemic. The Indianapolis 500, originally scheduled for May 24th, has been postponed until August 23rd. That means it won't run on Memorial Day weekend for the first time since 1946. The Indy 500 began in 1911, but didn't run in 1917, 18, and from 1941 to 45 because of World Wars I and II. Athletes are used to having a break after a long season, but for some, this may end up being a really long break. Their focus will be to stay fit, to remain elite. Quinn Phillips has more on how athletes are sticking together with a routine while staying apart.
I'm going to take you through a little bit of how I used to warm up.
On Wednesday, Canadian hockey legend Hayley Wickenheiser used Instagram Live to connect to athletes and help develop skills.
If you're just getting out starting juggling, you can start with 2. But what I used to do is I used to juggle.
It's become common on social media. Athletes trying to help athletes who are used to seeing their teammates and being pushed by coaches daily.
Athletes, they are often quite creatures of habit, and they have their routines and they have their people. So often it can feel quite isolating. So it's great to see measures being taken to keep people connected during this time.
Aquatics is taking a big hit. Every pool across the country is closed. Kindred Paul is a member of Canada's national water polo team that was set to compete at the Olympics. If she can't be in the water, she's here in her family's home, getting back an Olympic training routine.
We have resumed our training here at home, so we're doing 2-a-days training here as much as we can, kind of in our houses outside, social distancing, of course, but we're still trying to maintain that training schedule.
And they can do it together, like they've done every day of the last year. It's just through a computer.
We're all apart, but we still feel together. We even have our own WhatsApp group. We're texting in that all the time, Zoom meetings.
For swimmers, there's a feel in the water that they'll lose really quickly. The best Edmonton Keano's national level swimmers can do is stay fit. They're meeting online every day at 4 when they'd normally get in the pool together.
You can maintain sort of general adaptations and basic fitness levels. We can be done on land. It's not optimal.
And while everyone is adapting to a new normal right now,
I don't think there's any harm in pausing and taking a breath and just thinking about what they really need.
Coaches will always be there to motivate.
To lie on the couch and eat Cheetos all day and watch Netflix is doing nothing to meet your goals for when things go, get back to normal again.
Quinn Phillips, Global Sports.
And when you try to think of a time before there were sports, think about the fact that it was only 2 weeks ago today that professional sports stopped. It was 2 days ago this week that a pair of hosers known around the world returned to Edmonton, and they did so in bronze form. Bob and Doug McKenzie, the SCTV characters brought to life in Edmonton, now sit on a bench in the Ice District near Rogers Place. Edmonton sculptor Richie Felthuis worked with actors Dave Thomas and Rick Moranis to get the details of the pop culture icons just right.
I feel really proud. I mean, it just happened yesterday, so it's kind of surreal. Just in our tough times right now, with this virus and whatnot and this uncertainty, there's life that goes on, that there's just a whole bunch of things to be grateful for, I suppose.
Richie says his favorite part is if you're walking down the street, it looks like just two regular people sitting on a bench. There's still more to come here on Chat News. We'll recap today's top stories, and you'll see how some seniors are being entertained by musicians. Recapping today's top stories from Chat News, the COVID-19 pandemic has reached another alarming milestone. The number of global infections has now surpassed 500 million, with case numbers skyrocketing in the US, Italy, and Spain. In Canada, more than 3,900 people have tested positive, and the virus is spreading fast. Alberta now has 67 new confirmed cases, which means the province's total has reached 486. Up to 34 of the confirmed cases in Alberta are suspected to be the possible result of community transmission, according to Chief Medical Health Officer of Health, Dr. Dina Hinshaw, and there have been 27 confirmed recoveries from COVID-19 in Alberta so far. Medicine Hat Council will be holding a closed-door session on Friday to discuss the municipality's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Councillor Darren Hirsch says he's hearing residents are looking for more details about the financial aid packages being offered by different levels of government. Hirsch says the city's administration is identifying key civic staff while working on short and long-term plans for residents to deal with the situation. Friday's meeting is an opportunity for councillors to be briefed on the latest plans. For more on these and other stories, visit chatnewstoday.ca. Residents of assisted living centers and senior homes are not able to visit in person with their families during the pandemic. But a New Brunswick music teacher has found a creative way to entertain them. Shelley Steeves has this story.
It's been said that music is healing. And this New Brunswick music teacher is hoping it will mend the hearts of lonely seniors isolated from their families due to COVID-19.
We really don't want the seniors to feel like they've been forgotten.
Unable to connect with her fiddle students in person, like so many across the country, Samantha Robichaux has been working from home, teaching her lessons online. And this past week, she assigned her students some important homework.
This gives them kind of a fun project during the week, and they know that they're bringing joy and happiness to somebody else.
Here's an old-time favorite.
She asked her students who often perform at seniors' homes to each record a video of a solo act, all of which she's compiled together into a special concert for seniors at this special care home. She says with seniors' homes across the province closed to visitors and any kind of live music or entertainment, it's been a lonely and scary time.
I'm really hoping that by doing these videos up for them, they know that they are so special and so loved.
A form of social distancing, music therapy of sorts.
Having a personal performance sent to us by our local youth is extra special for our residents.
And on Wednesday, when the home pressed play on those videos, the response from residents was magical.
You enjoying it? Oh, yes. Good.
They even played some old-time favorites, like Tennessee Waltz and Amazing Grace. In these dark days, a graceful gesture indeed. Shelley Steves, Global News, Riverview.
Like all industries, Hollywood is taking a major hit from the pandemic. Most TV shows and film projects have been shut down, putting actors, production crews, and writers out of work. Chris Martinez has this story.
Like many in Hollywood, Steve Rizzo now faces an uncertain future.
It happened very quickly. Things were a little bit different back then.
The actor and stuntman was working on a production in Texas that was abruptly shut down because of coronavirus concerns. While he says a hiatus of a few weeks is manageable, he worries the lack of work could become long-term.
If it goes into like 3 and 4 months, then it's going to be a problem because there's not going to be any income from anything.
The coronavirus pandemic is having a crippling effect on the entertainment industry. Movie theaters have shut their doors, Broadway has gone dark, and major studios have stopped their productions. A number of highly anticipated movies have also been delayed.
How many others are there?
Including Marvel Studios' Black Widow, Disney's Mulan, and the latest in the Fast and Furious franchise, all expected to be among this year's biggest moneymakers.
It's dizzying because you can't quite get your arms around the scope of it.
Variety Magazine's Cynthia Littleton estimates the industry could take a financial hit in the tens of billions of dollars. She says the avalanche of delays and cancellations is devastating Hollywood's traditional calendar and will likely be felt for years.
There is going to be such a rescheduling nightmare for not only for getting movies and TV shows that have been postponed, but also getting work sorted out on future projects.
Steve now fills his unexpected free time building sets for a community theater musical, a production that's also been delayed.
We had to move the entire show 2 months forward into July, from May to July. So it's even, it's trickling down to everything.
He hopes Hollywood will ultimately have a happy ending. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Santa Clarita, California.
I don't know if you know this or not, but most of the radio hosts that share this Jim Pattison broadcast media center with us, they've been broadcasting from home for the past couple of weeks, doing so in order to ensure physical distancing. The Chat 94.5 and My 96 hosts are not together these days, and the fact that he can't leave home seems to be getting to Sean O'Neill from the My 96 morning show.
Must do the right thing, I have to stay in. Doors and windows are sealed, haven't planned any meals. Everything's online, but even that's changed. Now the delivery guy stays 6 feet away. How slow the days go by, quarantine.
Sean of Nick and Sean on My Mornings was away in Mexico on vacation when this all began, so technically Sean's actually only been in self-isolation for a week. His video, a parody of the Bush song Glycerin, shows the downside of being home alone. During the week, he's discovered the good and bad of it all, apparently. You can hear more of Sean's experiences at home on My Mornings with Nick and Sean weekdays on My 96 FM, and you can see his whole video online at chatnewstoday.ca. Now, Shawnee, I would offer to bring you some stuff, buddy, but I can't. I could have to leave it on your porch like the delivery guy in your video. All right, let's get to our 7-day forecast, because even though Sean is going to be at home, he's going to have some nice weather to look out the window at. 10 degrees tomorrow and Saturday with a mainly sunny sky, and on Sunday the winds will pick up and then they'll subside as the day goes on, but 14 degrees is what you can expect. Basically, a great weekend is ahead of us, and it'll be 12 degrees next Monday before the clouds come back Tuesday and Wednesday. And heading into the weekend after this one, things will cool off, but no huge snowstorms still to come. And by Easter weekend, we could be close to 20 degrees. That is your 7-day forecast, and that is Chat News at 5. Thank you for choosing Chat tonight. I'm Dan Reynish on behalf of the entire team. Have a great evening, and we'll meet you back here at noon and 5 o'clock tomorrow.